Hey, how you doing? This is oh God, excuse me. Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. It's time for Sunday Comics. That's the Sunday show, 10 a.m. where Eastern Standard Time, where I talk about comics. And I'm just going through all the X-Men, starting with Giant Size X-Men 1, and we'll go until I feel like stopping. But if people have suggestions and I remember it and I get tired of the X-Men, we'll break and we'll do other comics, in this run. Why not? Why not? But I'm kind of having fun revisiting these old X-Men comics. Makes me remember, because to me the X-Men, more than any other comic, like are symbols of how far Marvel has fallen. And revisiting these comics just makes me remember why I love them so much. So I see the comments are filling up. How's everybody doing? How's your day yesterday? A little bit of channel news. I see this show is kind of like my let's keep everybody up to speed with my channel kind of information show. So for those of you who don't know, I'm a construction worker, and when one job finishes, you go to another job. That's the best case scenario. Worst case scenario is one job finishes and you're out of work forever because there's no more construction. But it's usually in the middle of all that. Sometimes when a job ends, you're out of work for a little while. But so one job ended. I was home for 2 days. I was battening down the hatches. I thought things were going to be rough, but I went right out to work. Man, things are booming right now. I wonder what's different right now. 4 years ago, things were booming. And then for 4 years, things were really, really slow. And now things are booming again. And the funny thing is, 4 years ago, things were booming. And then for 8 years before that, things were really, really slow. I don't understand. I wish somebody could recognize patterns and explain it to me. But anyway, things are booming right now. So, but it's so I got laid off on a Friday. The job was over. I go home, and I was prepared to be out of work for months because that's usually what happens. So I was like, oh man, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. And I said, but you know what? I'm going to take a week off of doing nothing. I'm going to sleep late. I'm going to be lazy. And then after a week, I'm going to pull up the deck in the backyard and I'm going to start working on the deck, buy some lumber, teach myself how to, because we bought an old house. This house was built in 1967, had one owner, and he died here, and his wife died here, and his kids moved on, and it hasn't been touched probably since the 70s. So I want to start doing some work. I was like, but I'm gonna take a week off. Glad I waited, because man, could you imagine if I had started pulling up that deck and then went back to work? So Tuesday, I get the call. Wednesday, I'm at another shop. But this shop's works on schools. They have contracts with the New York City school system. So I'm working in schools, and electricians, construction workers, and iron workers can't work when classes. So during the summer, it didn't change. But now teachers are in school. And then what? Another 2 weeks, the students will be in school. So we got to start after that. So it's more money. But man, I got to say, after a week of doing this shift, it's isolating. You feel weird. I wake up, my wife has already gone to work, the house is empty, and you're like, oh, cool, I got all this time by myself. I'm going to do stuff. No, you don't do anything because you're just like, I just got to go to work. I just got to go to work. So you just wake up and wait to go to work. And then when you come home, it's 11 o'clock at night, and you're like, I'm going to go to bed. So I got to get my new schedule set. So I didn't do much last week. But anyway, that's me complaining. But it's isolating. I'm a social guy. And then there's only like 3 guys on this job. So they go, he does that, and I do this. So for 8 hours, I'm by myself. We have a lunch together, and then go home. I'm in my car. I'm at work by myself. I'm home by myself. I see my wife for like 25 minutes when I come home from work. It's like I said, it's isolating. So it's kind of weird. So I got myself in a little funk. So I look forward to this. So I that's why I didn't do much YouTube stuff. So I think next week I'm at 1 o'clock every day because I got to leave at 2. So they'll give me an hour at most, but it'll limit me from babbling. So I'll just do a live stream every day for a little bit. Maybe I'll just do a comic or whatever. Just something to keep the channel engagement up. So how's that? So let's check out the chat before we start. So we got Zach Tan with the blessing. How you doing? We got RJ Williams. How's everything? How's it going, RJ? RJ3. Seems to be a lot of RJs. Good morning, Jolly Green Cop. Does anybody know how I could fix this so it doesn't have the @ so it actually has like your first name, not your last name? I see some channels have it and some channels don't. There's got to be something I could toggle, and I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I wish I could fix it. Drives me crazy. Yeah, isn't it weird? I wonder what changed. I could go on and on and on with stories about that. How people just don't want to believe their lying eyes. Correlation is not causation. It's not always causation in the eyes that we get out of it. Okay. Good morning, Vietnam. How you doing? I'm the pro. Zach Tan is here. Yeah, I'm in a good mood now. Just weird. It's just an adjustment. There's my comic. My comic is on Heroic Tales. My comic is Heroic Tales. It's on Fund My Comic. It's in demand. The Kickstarter is over. That was just a short little thing for anybody who wanted to use Kickstarter. I didn't use Indiegogo this time around, but now that Indiegogo is bought by GameFound, I'll probably use it next time around. I have all day today, no work tomorrow because of Labor Day. I'm gonna my computer always wants to do updates whenever I do live stuff. So today and tomorrow I want to finish up the script for the Patriarch #1, and then I want to work on another story. It's funny how inspiration comes. Like I had an idea for a character for a while. Matter of fact, this character, a female character, I wrote up her sheets and never used her in my role-playing games. And I don't want to mention the name yet. But since I stopped watching anything Comicsgate related on YouTube and Twitter, things will be suggested and I'll hit, do not suggest this anymore. I guess the algorithm is like panicking. What do I send this guy? So I started watching videos on Greek mythology on YouTube. So now my algorithm is filled with Greek mythology. So I got this idea for like a Shazam type hero, but I wanted it like all the darkness moon goddesses. So like Hecate, Selene, Artemis, Ishtar, Ereshkigal. So I was thinking of that. And that worked good with the name of this female superhero that I was thinking about. And then I was like, okay, but is she just another superhero? So I was like, where would she work best? So it's like all of these occult goddesses. And for those of you who've been watching, you know that there's something sinister going on with Dionysus. You can't tell in the comic yet, but so I'm like, so I was like, okay, she's got all these occult powers. And so Dionysus, and then I was just like, where would that work? So Dionysus, god of revelry, wine, and all this, and I'm like, the Weimar Republic. So I got a character, I got a villain, got a setting. Let me come up with a story. And I've been thinking about that for about a week, and all of a sudden I woke up with the fully realized story, and that's what I'm going to be working on tomorrow. But that's all I'm going to say. So villain, Dionysus, setting, Weimar Republic, and an occult sponsored supervillain. So there you go. That's what I'm going to be working on. So I want to finish up the Patriarch story. Said that Renzo has the first 2/3 already. The Patriarch story is it's in 3/3. The first third is just an opening adventure. Second story is his false origin, and the third story is his real origin. Those of you who know my world, the way I talk about it, every superhero has the official government sanctioned origin to keep people off the path of getting powers on their own, and then the real origin. So there you go. So that's what's going on in my life with my comics. Where am I? Where's the comments? Yes, there's a lot of RJs in the multiverse. A lot of RJs in the yes. Call Sign Orion is RJ3's book. Good guy. Obviously, I haven't read his comic yet, but I got good feels. Got good feels about it. Magneto has a force field. Look like white hair from a distance. Yes, and I like when they do this, like magnetic lines of force. I'll talk about when I'm actually talking about the comic. Oh, we got a bunch of people watching, so I could stop. I'll catch up with the comments, and I'll stop with the filibuster. Those Greek myths, can't trust any of them. Yep, Ivan Dionysus villain too. In issue 2. Oh, okay. Looks like we have to fight. There can only be one. Okay, I'm all caught up. All caught up. Except this is literally the god Dionysus. The Greek gods exist in my comic book world. Are they gods, or are they just long-lived superheroes? You be the judge of that. I always thought Dionysus was sinister. Seems nice in the Chronicles of Narnia, but they may not. Yeah, his worshippers get drunk and rip humans to shreds. When Dionysus, the Greeks had armies to keep him out of Greece, and then he finally comes to Greece. And then when he comes to Greece, he demands a throne, and Vestia, the goddess of hearth and home, gives up her throne for Dionysus. And then we have the end of Greek civilization. It gets conquered by Rome, classic Greek, you know what I mean? It's Dionysus worship, revelry, giving into emotions, giving into revelry, drunkenness. It's the end of civilizations. It's you know, where is the Greek culture and everything like that after they replaced hearth and home with revelry? We could fight over Luke and Dionysus. I only have parallels to gods and demigods. Orion is the main character, and he has lots the hots for Diana, and one of the main villains is Dionysus. Oh, I didn't realize that a lot of your characters were named after Greek gods. I have a pet peeve. There's somebody, and I'm not mentioning names, who uses Greek god names, but he uses them wrong. Oh, it drives me nuts. And we talked about it, and he was just like, who cares? Nobody knows. I'm like, I know. But anyway, let's get to X-Men 104. So we got this wonderful Dave Cockrum cover. You know, it's funny because I started collecting the X-Men on John Byrne's run. And it wasn't until years later that I started finding about comic book shops and everything like that, and getting the Cockrum run. But as a kid, I always thought Dave Cockrum was just a like older fashioned art. And now I look at it, I can see why Byrne replaced Cockrum. Very similar, you know, and why, you know, Cockrum replaced Neil Adams. You know, there was like a continuity of art. Really good. And look at this color. I love the fade. You know, and this wasn't computer, so they must have, you know, what diluted the ink, you know, the literally with the pen and brush, you know, probably put water in it and made it, and then you could just see the abrupt change over here. You know, over here it's darker and it fades, but over here there's just a line where it changes from like tannish orange to yellow. So that's like another pen. But look at this. We got Storm. Now, this is a weird pet peeve of mine, but I never thought that Storm shoots lightning. I always thought that Storm controls the storms and like calls lightning. And I know that's me being crazy again, but to see her shooting lightning bolts out of her hand, I always thought that was like a misuse of her power. Like Scarlet Witch doesn't shoot force bolts. Cyclops' energy blasts aren't hot, you know, and Storm doesn't shoot lightning. She calls lightning. But what do I know? I know more than Dave Cockrum. But that's just the way I would play it. Like, her body doesn't generate the lightning. Her body commands the storm, and lightning would come from the sky. But, you know, I'm a weirdo that way. Forgive me. And RJ, I see your comment, but I'm reaching for a napkin because my nose is running. Forgive me. Yes, I agree. I see Storm shooting lightning in the cartoons. Doesn't seem right. Right. She like she doesn't shoot rain out of her hands. She doesn't shoot hail. She doesn't shoot cold blasts, but she shoots lightning. Like I know that's a weird pet peeve, but that those are different powers. I agree. She shouldn't create. She calls it right. Exactly. Like she also hovers with wind, but the wind doesn't affect other things around. Yeah, I know. That's like we just got to call. She has the power to fly. Originally it was supposed to be the winds pick her up, and these cape like acts like a parachute and propels it, but that would be like floppy and awkward, and we don't see the tables knocking over. Her hair should be blown forward. So just for the sake of argument, she has the power to fly. Like if you get the Patriarch card on the back, it shows his powers. He has the power to fly. There's Superman has the power to fly. So Patriarch has the power to fly, and he has telekinesis. These are two separate powers, and he has the heightened senses. I have a question that's been nagging me since the X-Men are kind of outliers in Marvel. Who is the DC equivalent of the X-Men? The Doom Patrol. The Doom Patrol. The Doom Patrol and the X-Men are so similar that, was it Anton Drake wanted to sue Marvel for the longest time. You had the original X-Men were four freaks led by a genius in a wheelchair. The Doom Patrol, four freaks or three freaks led by a genius in a wheelchair. Shunned and hated by society. Very similar. Very similar. Storm could call lightning and throw it. Yeah. You know what I mean? But she shouldn't be able to generate it and cast it. I know it's weird. What is surrounding Magneto? A magnetic field. I guess it's time to talk about this. I love this. If I'm an electrician, so we when I was taking my classes to become an electrician, there's a lot of textbooks, and what you can actually do this. If you take a magnet and put paper on it, and you take metal filings on the paper and then shake the paper up a little bit, you will see the metal filings line up in magnetic lines of force, and they look like this. So obviously Dave Cockrum did his research, and he saw that magnetic lines of force kind of look like that, like it's like waves. So there'll be all metal filings, and then there'll be a trough of no metal filing, and that's the way it looks. So I love when magnetic powers are represented like this. So that's a magnetic force field. So what is he doing? He's generating a repulsion field. Now, magnetic powers is one of the most misrepresented powers in comics. I have a character, Magnum, who has magnetic powers. So I'd like to explain magnetic powers the way I think they should work more full in future issues of Heroic Tales and the Patriarch. But magnetic powers shouldn't repel force blasts. Yes, they absolutely repel his metal claws. They repel Colossus. And I will even say that they can repel humans, because humans have iron in the bloodstream, and Magneto is that powerful. We have iron in our bones, in our diet. So why not? Why not? Is adamantium a ferrous metal, meaning iron based? I don't know. It's not real. So, because like aluminum or titanium, that could penetrate a magnetic field. How long was Neal Adams on the X-Men? He should have stayed on. Well, that's just it. You got to pay Neal Adams. Neal Adams he had FU talent. He was so talented, he made the demands. I think once the X-Men stopped, they put Neal Adams on because the X-Men wasn't selling too well, and his art is so good, but it didn't save the title. It went to bi-monthly. It was borderline canceled, and I don't think Neal Adams is going to stay on a sinking ship. Problem with the X-Men was the stories were just really lame. The stories were bad, It's It's not weird. There should be consistencies. The movies were more consistent with Storm's powers. Yes, I don't think in the movies, I don't recall Storm ever just shooting a lightning bolt. It always came from the sky. Her eyes turned white and she called the lightning. That's the way I would do it. But who am I? Yeah, actual hovercrafts would cause disruptions in their surroundings. My hovercraft is filled with eels. 10 points to Gryffindor if you get that reference. All right, so let's open up the comic. We got King Kong over here. Oh, man. Was that a big deal? And as far as my memory goes, and I know I'm wrong saying this, but it's my memory, this was the first remake in my mind, that I remember. I'm sure there was older movies, obviously, that were remakes, but this was like, because I watched the original King Kong. Not in the movie theaters, of course, but King Kong, the original King Kong was on every Thanksgiving. And I remember it was like a thing. We would have the Thanksgiving dinner, and then I would sit and I would watch King Kong, Mighty Joe Young, and then like there was a whole bunch of other old-fashioned monster movies, and I would just watch it. But I remember when this movie came out, this was a big deal. So this is 1977. So I was 9 years old. Yeah. The Twin Towers ain't here no more. There's the Empire State Building. Yep. All right, so let's check out who died and made King Kong. Who died and made Kong King? Okay. Just saw Thunderbolts on Disney Plus. It was pretty good. I enjoyed the fight scenes. I can't wait to see the Sentry and Secret War. Oh, you're the first person to say, like, I never seen it. Since Endgame, which I hated so much, I stopped watching the Marvel movies. But I did watch the second. Now my timeline is messed up. The second Doctor Strange movie was after that, right? And then I watched the Spider-Man movie, and that's it. Since Endgame, I didn't see Ant-Man. I didn't. Yeah. I'm trying to think. I saw the Fantastic Four. So that's it. Those are the 3 Marvel movies that I've seen since Endgame. My buddies and I watched part of King Kong being filmed in Astoria, elevated track on the railroad station. Yeah, my brother-in-law was there. Like they had like a big inflatable King Kong laying on the ground, and he claims he could be seen in the movie, but I don't remember it. That King Kong laying like in the plaza by the Twin Towers, but I tried to see it. King Kong was king of Monster Island. Yep. Speaking of Astoria, we're going to be finishing up in this school and probably in 2 or 3 weeks going to a school in Astoria, doing the same thing all over again. All right, so the gentleman's name is Magneto. Magneto's a gentleman. He may be a crazed supervillain, but he's a gentleman. So Chris Claremont, author, Dave Cockrum, Sam Granger, inks. Dave Cockrum, artist, Sam Granger, inkers, Patterson, letterer, and A. Yangchus, colorist, and Archie Goodwin, editor. So we got the X-Men over here. Where are they? The Outer Hebrides, 50 miles off the northwest coast of Scotland. It's a crisp, clear enough Monday morning, and right off the bat, things are going wrong with a vengeance. So we got Chris Claremont, with the nice setting, description, nice splash page. And what do we got? I like this. It's literally right after the last story. The X-Men were at Cassidy Keep. Classic supervillain ending. Black Tom Cassidy falls in the water. Juggernaut jumps in the water. And the X-Men like, that's fine. We're not going to look for them. We're not going to search. They fell in the water. Fight's over. That comic book's over. Let's go home. So now they're going home. And what are they doing? They're trying to rent a boat. You heard me, Mick. You're not taking my hovercraft out of that harbor, and that's final. You can't do this, McWhorter. We have a signed agreement. You've been paid. And we got the Irish brogue accent. We got Nightcrawler. Guten Morgen, mein Herren. It's a beautiful day, is it not? Dina, answer the Deutsch beaches, lad. Just keep your eyes front and keep walking. Dina, yonder. just but Mr. Stewart, so it's got pointy tail and the teeth. So the Scots aren't used to seeing Nightcrawler walking around. Nightcrawler usually has that image inducer, but this is like the X-Men are all in full-on costumes. Why? Because they destroyed their costumes in the last issue. They, whatever, magnetically charged, Storm could summon her costume. They all just, Colossus, when he transforms, his regular clothes get destroyed and his costume, whatever. Nightcrawler always wears his costume. He just wears the image inducer. And Colossus and Wolverine, he just put on. But if you remember, they're all dressed for dinner, but now they're in their costume because their regular clothes got destroyed. But you telling me they were in the castle, they didn't go change? Whatever. So they're in their superhero costumes and they're talking to Angus McWhirter about renting a boat. And of course, he's got a hovercraft because that's what you got. He doesn't just have like a sailboat or a trophy boat or anything like that, just like a regular fishing boat. He's got a hovercraft because this is a comic book. So there we go. Oh, we are at the point now, or I look at the page, look at the comments, look at the page, look at the comments. So let's check out the comments. Stippling Vaughn, hey, Stippling Vaughn is here. Stippling, I watch your videos. Stippling, for those of you who are unaware, is working on the Printer's Devil right now for me, and he does videos on his channel, which is also called Stippling Vaughn, and you could look at the pages. Oh, he was working on the cards. That's one of the things that I like to do is I'll send you the script. If you like it and accept it, I kind of say, hey, do a trading card of the main characters, and for the Printer's Devil, there's two main characters, not every character, sometimes there's Phil Moskowitz just handing the guy a sandwich. You don't need a trading card of Phil Moskowitz handing a sandwich, but the main characters. And that way I know that, sometimes what I picture in my head and what you picture in your head are different. So Stippling banged it out, man. These two. So, and he did this cool thing. We got the Printer's Devil and then Boaz, and he made it so that if you put the cards together, it forms the Liberty Bell. Pretty cool, because it's set in the Articles of Confederation era, United States. I guess calling it United States, the Confederate States. United States of America under the Articles of Confederation. And you can see, and now he's working on the first page. So it's cool. So check out Stippling Vaughn. We got Once Was Cool. Good morning, John. And chat, how's it going? We got Zaid over here. How's everything? How are you doing today? I can't wait. You're launching a Western comic, right? You got a Western comic come up. What is it called? What's the links? I can't wait. We need more Western comics. Yep, that Ed is so wrong. Kong never did that in the movie. Yeah. I read this issue. Cool. Everybody saying hello. Having several uniform sets makes sense. Yep. Just noticed how gesture-ish Wolverine's costume is drawn. Yeah, it does. It looks a little off, doesn't it? It looks a little goofy. I agree. Oh, sub to Stippling Vaughn's YouTube channel. There you go. So it's pre-Tom Orr's on letters. I guess so. I didn't notice that. Here's Zaid Comics. Check out Zaid Comics. He's got a Western coming out. And he's got a vigilante character called The People. I just love the idea of The People. All right, so let's look at Nightcrawler. It almost looks like he's taunting these poor people. You know what I mean? Is it wrong? To be walking down the street and you see that thing and you freak out? Like, that's one of the things, like, sorry, it's out of the unusual, it's out of the norm. It's weird. Nightcrawler, I'm sorry. And I liked that when they introduced Kitty Pryde later on, that she would be scared of Nightcrawler at first. And I like how Nightcrawler tried to play it off as that's okay, I understand, but it hurt him. I thought that was good. It is Bruce Patterson on. I was about to say Bruce Patterson, and then I stopped myself in case I was wrong. Thanks. Bruce Patterson on He's an inker normally. And I love Bruce Patterson. I really love Bruce Patterson on Pat Broderick. Pat Broderick, Bruce Patterson. Oh my God, so good. So, okay, so Banshee is arguing with Angus McWhirter. Angus McWhirter, and he is like, runs the docks. And here is the X-Men being jerks. As far as I know, as far as my recollection goes, this is the first time the X-Men are being jerks. I've been saying for a long time that the X-Men deserve persecution, and I will make a point to point out all the times that the X-Men deserve it. So here is who's messaging me. This is the first time that they're being jerky. So we got Nightcrawler basically taunting poor regular Joe Schmo Scotsman, and Angus McWhirter says, "I made a deal with Myra McTaggart and her university, not the X-Men. So unless Myra McTaggart comes down here, you ain't stepping foot on my boat. You superheroes cause problems." So he goes, and it's not like Angus McWhirter is totally innocent. He says, I'll read verbatim what he says. "Wrong. My agreement was with Myra McTaggart and Edinburgh University, not with a bunch of costume freaks. What? And as far as your money, consider it forfeit as penalty for tying up my hovercraft with your fraudulent reservation. Now, I'll see you lot off my deck, and be quick about it." So, is he wrong? I don't want you costume freaks getting anywhere near my stuff. And I made a deal with Myra McTaggart and the university. The X-Men are not part of Myra McTaggart and Edinburgh University. If I reserve a car, Stippling Vaughn just can't go, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna get in that car." Well, John's Longbox reserved that car. Yeah, but yeah, I'm gonna get in that car. Rather, they don't call Myra McTaggart. They don't have Myra McTaggart talk. What do? Colossus goes to Comrade. "Since you intend to keep our money, it seems only fair that we keep your hovercraft." Right? So Colossus threatens Myra McTaggart. Angus McWhirter turns into steel. It's not, the guy's a 6'4" hulking mass without turning into steel. Now he turns into a 7-foot tall steel robot, and then assaults him. He picks him up and he puts him on this. And I know it's played for yucks. And then got the hovercraft, and it blows up. Magneto attacks. So this guy's that's his business. Was he wrong? No. Disaster follows costume freaks, especially the X-Men. Cripes. I love when they say cripes because they can't say shit. They can't say crap. Cripes. The lousy tub's coming apart at the seams, and we're going into the drink. Boom. Storm's upside down. Colossus is over here. There you go. Angus McWhirter did nothing wrong. Put that on a bumper sticker. Sorry, Nightcrawler, but yeah, he's out of the ordinary. It's rough, but you look like a monster and you can't blame people for being scared. Yeah. Which is one of the reasons why I like Nightcrawler. I like Nightcrawler that he didn't freak out. Again, I'm only going on my recollection of the X-Men, which stopped about 10 years ago. But he didn't hold it against people. He understood that he was the outlier. And that's what you need to understand. If you're the weirdo, if you're the freak, you can't blame people for having normal, typical reactions. You just have to learn to deal with it. The uniform is supposed to help with that. But, our hovercraft, Comrade. Our hovercraft. That's a good surprise attack. Not sure if insurance will cover that. I know. So there we go. Angus McWhirter did nothing wrong. And this is the beginning of the X-Men abusing their power. We just want to be treated like everybody else, except when it comes to binding legal rental agreements and not physically assaulting people. We want, but other than that, we want to be treated like everybody else. So that's going to be a running theme of the X-Men from now on. So let's turn the page. These little dog ears drive me crazy. And we got Slim Jims. Mighty Meat Snack. That was my nickname in college, by the way, the Mighty Meat Snack. And we got Grit. We got Joe Wilder over here, just flexing into dynamic superhero shape. And then we got some minutes later, Colossus is transforming. Is everyone cold or wet, Benchy? How kind of you to ask, but why is it that every time we ride in some sort of mechanical device, it crashes? And yet you still took Agnes McWhirter's hovercraft when he told you couldn't. Dumb luck, I guess, Elfie. Did you ever get the feeling, though, that someone's got it out for us? Ah, Wolverine. The way the hovercraft exploded. It didn't explode, no. Everything metal came alive. The ship literally tore itself to pieces. Look, comrade, is that Meyer McTaggart's laboratory? I never dreamed it would be so big. So now we're getting more about Meyer McTaggart. She's not just the sexy cleaning lady, and they hinted that she had a romantic past with Xavier. They explicitly said it was over, and then Banshee started macking on her. Well, he was macking on her. He wasn't snaking because he had permission. You know what I mean? I told you the difference between macking and snaking. So he was macking on her, and she seemed to be digging his mac. So okay, they're going to go. Myra gave up all this in a professorship in Edinburgh to become the X-Men's housekeeper. I thought I knew her, but now I'm not so sure. Ta-da! A little bit of twist. And I like how Banshee is acting as the team leader. And it makes sense. He's the oldest, he's the most experienced, and he was an Interpol agent. So he has some sort of legit authority, experience. And, he's in his 40s, I would say. He's supposed to be in his 40s. And Colossus here is supposed to be 19 because they explicitly said he was 19, 20 when he met Kitty Pryde, who was 14. Kind of creepy. At least when you say 19 to 14, it doesn't sound as creepy, but 20 to 14 is kind of creepy. Now, Wolverine, we all know, is older, but at this point, Wolverine is not flushed out. Wolverine is kind of like raw cookie dough, they didn't bake. So what he's doing, he's going to go into action, and now they can't get in. A force field. A dome of solidified air is pinning us to the beach, making us sitting ducks. And now they're getting attacked. The land is ripped out. Oh, it's throwing us at the outer wall. Look at this face, Banshee's face. It's gonna smash us. Like, set yourselves, X-Men. Brace yourselves. I love that. Brace yourself. You could survive being smashed up against Meyer McTaggart fortress as long as you brace yourself. It's when you don't brace yourself against being smashed into a wall, it's when you got problems. That and what's the other one I like? I rode the explosion out. I love that. If you ride the explosion out, you're fine. You can't be special or normal. You seek to be aspirational, though. Okay, there we go. Do they ever use non-ferrous metals against Magneto, or does he have a de facto metal control powers as well as magnetism? See, that's just it. That's one of the things I was just talking about. They don't think this through. Like when fighting, like in the movies, they had guards with plastic sticks and stuff like that. But they could have aluminum guns or titanium guns. Like you get to tell, like replace all the iron. A gun doesn't need to be iron or steel. It just needs to be able to withstand the impact. There's nothing chemical about a gun that requires the chemical components that make up steel and iron. So it just needs to withstand it. I mean, theoretically, you could make a stone gun. You know what? They make plastic clocks. So why not make a titanium gun, and titanium bullets and take out Magneto? But they don't do that, or maybe whatever, because the writers just have magnetism controls metal. You know what I mean? So Colossus turns into organic steel. So he is some sort of iron-based. It's already established that Magneto could control him. It's already established that Magneto could mess with Wolverine. So they must be some sort of steel, iron, ferrous-based metals. But why not? Because I just think they didn't think of it or whatever. But that's the kind of stuff that you need to think about when you're having like powers like this. Like I've been talking to Vaughn Coleman. He has his comic Phenomenova, and his main character is Galvanite, a lightning-based superhero. So I've been explaining to him how electricity works, and then I kind of made a Twitter post about why can't I think it was it Alpha Core when they fought an electric-based villain, and I'm like, you don't just shoot water at an electric-based villain and short him out. That's like the oldest cliche in the book. You know what I mean? Like if the writer could say it, and Chuck Dixon said it, Steve Ditko, that's all the arguments. Steve Ditko did it. I'm like, yeah, but I'm an electrician. This isn't how electricity works. I'm trying to be logic. I'm trying to logic it out. So I want to make a story. It's gonna be set in the 40s where, a boxing-based superhero figures out how to defeat an electrical-based villain. The electrical-based villain is going to have an electrical device. I don't want to give it all away, but I just want to show. But, I have a whole story made up just because I want to show how to defeat an electrical-based villain. But that's how I would. Same thing with magnetics. Magnetics, like in my role-playing games, my friend Paul's character was Magnum. There was a squad that made porcelain. They had titanium guns with porcelain round bullets, and he was like, "Why can't they got guns?" I'm like, "They're titanium. Titanium's not affected by." He's like, "That's bull crap." But and they were firing him, and as the porcelain around, his magnetic shields weren't stopping the porcelain bullets, and he was like, "We got to get out of here." I mean, the guns weren't the best made. Like I had like a jamming percentage and stuff like that, but there was like 20 guys, and he had to go back, and that's when he started like carrying metal with them. Like there was metal everywhere. So he started adapting. Like, okay, if there's no metal there, I got to be able. So he made these bandoliers, and he had these metal balls. That's why you always see Magnum. He has these, and they're literally iron balls, and boom. So he would control them. That was after he saw the first X-Men movie. Why is Colossus oofing? I thought he didn't need to breathe when in steel form. He can't get the wind act. Oh, I don't know that. Does he need to breathe? Does he need to breathe? I never thought of that. But he was talking. So maybe he doesn't need to breathe, but he was talking. It will be good to get because he needs to yell and announce things to his teammates. So I don't know, but let's just say he doesn't need to breathe, but he needs to breathe to talk. So as he was talking, he got oofed. But Omnipro, that is really, if he doesn't need to breathe, then he could walk underwater, walk through poisonous environments. Good call. I got to look that up. I never thought of that. Cool. I love that kind of stuff. Stippling Vaughn, deadlines and lack of insurance would create these plot holes and powers and how they work. Absolutely. And when I say they didn't think of it, I'm not being malicious and mean. I'm just saying they didn't think of it. Just like I didn't think of Colossus. Does he need to breathe? That is excellent. That is really cool. True. Colossus does not need to breathe, eat, or drink. Okay, I never thought of that. Wow, that is really cool. Now, I have like Captain Marvel, Shazam, boom, he turns into Captain Marvel, Billy Batson. Why wouldn't you stay as Captain Marvel forever? You know what I mean? Think about it. Because in the Alan Moore comic Miracle Man, that's exactly what Mickey Moran does. Is he says Komoda, and he turns into Miracle Man and he abandons his Mickey Moran body forever. My workaround, and this is me being a crazy person, in my role-playing games in Heroic Tales world, if your powers are active, you're not resting. And if you're not resting, you don't regain your stamina and you don't heal. So the patriarch gets beat up. He beats everybody. He's got his telekinetic defenses up. He's fighting everybody and stuff like that. And now, fight's over. He can keep his defenses up, but he's never going to catch his breath. He's never going to recover his wounds. So he needs to literally shut everything down. Like, as long as so all your superpowers have to be off, and you can't be like, okay, all my powers are off, but I'm still going to fist fight everybody. You're not resting. You have to be at rest. So Billy Batson says Shazam, in my mind, he would never rest. He would never recover. He would never heal. And Eric Larson, as much as he's a freak, he has a character called Mighty Man. And Mighty Man is his Captain Marvel. He transforms. He can't eat. You know, like, he can't do anything because it's an artificial construct. You know what I mean? So he needs to turn normal to eat, recover. So Colossus can't heal unless he's human, in my mind. You know what I mean? All his powers have to be shut off. There are powers that are passive, like Wolverine's regeneration, like, you know, things like that. Those are the exceptions. Colossus, you know, Banshee can't be sonic screaming. Now, the thing about Cyclops is his power is always active and it's a curse. So he needs an artificial device to turn his power off, or he will literally shoot and exert himself until he dies. I think that's a pretty difficult weakness. This is the way I think about superpowers. Maybe Colossus has a vibration effect to form speech. Yeah. You know, is he solid iron? Like, is he just armored? Does he have soft organs and everything like that? I can't believe I never thought of that. That's so cool. I do know that if you strike the frequency or somehow Colossus is killed, who revert back to human form. Yeah. When you see Colossus get knocked unconscious, he usually turns human. And I like that. Otherwise, because to my way of thinking, if he gets knocked unconscious and doesn't revert to human, he would never wake up because he can't recover. So that's always like a thing in my superhero game. Like, if you get knocked out, all your power is shut off because that's one way of resting, being knocked out. So it's really dangerous to get knocked unconscious because all your defenses, everything turn off. The only exception being is some powers you pay a cost and it lasts for like 5 minutes. It just won't renew. You know what I mean? I don't overthink how comic powers and elements work. It's fiction, and it's not. Yeah, that's probably the smart way to look at it. Yeah, but I like to think about that stuff. But yeah, I'm the crazy person. You're right. You are right. Turns out Colossus just sounds like one of those mouth harp things when he talks. That would be weird to explain how does he sound. Like, we all know the Vision sounds different. You know, and they always say that the Thing sounds gravelly, which makes sense. Yeah, wouldn't Colossus have a difficulty speaking? You know, a metallic twang to him, robotic. So let's turn the page. Have you seen this coupon before? The LaSalle Extension University. Customized vans. There you go. And what do we got here? Now let's cut loose. So we got Banshee screaming. We got Colossus jumping like a freak. Wolverine's over here. And note, Wolverine's not a big deal. Dave Cockrum didn't like Wolverine. So Wolverine is not that big of a deal. We got Colossus shooting Storm shooting lightning. And what do they do? They're just bashing their way because they were about to smash in. So knock out the walls, saving themselves. Okay? Can't fault them for that. So now, Banshee, the door is glowing. Even Myra McTaggart has a huge supervillain lair base. And boom, Look at this. Awesome. Awesome Magneto. That is just so cool. Greetings, X-Men. I bid you welcome to the site of our final battleground. You're going to die here, mutants, and not all of your powers nor skills will save you from my wrath. Look on me, X-Men, for I am the oldest, deadliest foe, master of the legion of evil mutants, and soon to be lord of the world. I am Magneto. Look at that awesome, awesome picture. Cool power. Now, Magneto. He's a raving maniac. He dresses like the devil. Okay? Remember Daffy Duck dressed like a devil and blew himself up on stage in one of the greatest gags of cartoon? Daffy Duck just was so pissed off that Bugs Bunny kept upstaging him that he freaking blew himself. He dressed like Satan himself and ate dynamite and ate gunpowder and drank nitroglycerin, covered himself with gasoline, and lit himself on fire and exploded in front of an audience because that's how bitter and petty he was. Magneto is doing the same thing. He dresses like Satan. He's got the horns. This is a raving lunatic. I like raving lunatic megalomaniac Magneto. Look at that costume. You know what I mean? He's not calm, calculated, reasoning Magneto. He's a freaking insane guy who dresses like Satan. What else do you want me to say? and he attacks, you know. Look at that. He should be like crazy-eyed bonkers. Like, he has that helmet that protects him from mental probes and everything like that. I could see like it's paranoid schizophrenia, and then maybe he could get medicated and a little bit better, like bipolar or something like that. That's like later on stuff. But at 1977, this is a crazy raving lunatic, and I love that. But look at that. Look at that. Oh man, whoever owns that original page, where is it? Where is that original page? This is history. So this is the first time the new X-Men are meeting their most famous bad guy. So cool. So cool. So I see your point about Magneto. He's insane. Yeah. He's a raving lunatic. Why is he attacking the new X-Men? Who cares? Great picture. You got it at the last minute. Great picture. We didn't see Magneto's face for years. Yeah, he never took the helmet off. Why? Because he's a paranoid freak. And I like that they made that helmet part of his like abilities. And they made Magneto a genius. You know, he knew his main foe was Xavier, who could read and manipulate minds and thoughts and stuff like that. So he made a helmet to counter that. Excellent. I always love when Superman is in a Marvel comic. You know, they took the S off. They just made him superhero. You know? Books of Magic. Look at this freak. And now we cut to Myra McTaggart in her classic Myra McTaggart outfit. Look at that. Oh man. I thought Rose Byrne was perfect. I think Rose Byrne is just one of the most beautiful actresses. So yeah, since she played Myra McTaggart in X-Men Days of Future Past, I just can't help but think of Myra McTaggart as Rose Byrne, you know, but look at that. So the Blackbird is landing. No signs of the hovercraft. Say though, the X-Men are late. I only hope so. Now they will get the X-Men. We're going to meet up with Scott and Myra at Myra's Institute and whatever. And you sound angry, Cyclops. I am. I've been with the professor since the beginning, and this is the first I've ever heard of your mutant research center. I've seen secretly before, but a complex designed to cage the most dangerous mutants' existence and perhaps cure their hatred for me. It's my life's work, Scott. When Charles and I were students together, follow me, blah, blah, blah. So I can't read it. It's a little too dark. So Cyclops is getting pissed. And I like this. The leading up, I never picked this up, as a kid. But Cyclops is starting to come to the same conclusion that I could. That Xavier is a sneaky freak. I'm not the biggest fan of Charles Xavier. So he's a sneaky, secretive, manipulative, but he wants to be treated like everybody else. And Scott's like, I'm the first guy that Xavier, and now there's a whole other institute, and you're not, you come to us on the guise of a maid. Why so sneaky? Which makes me wonder, did Myra McTaggart, was she originally created to be a house cleaner? Was this part of Cockrum's plan? Not Cockrum, Claremont's plan? And if so, why did she come as a house cleaner? You know what I mean? Like, why the secrecy? It just fosters Cyclops's suspicion. Why be secretive about it? Just like, oh yeah, this is my partner. She works in Scotland and she's interested in mutants. So, like, I definitely think that Claremont comes up with stuff and then adds to it like piecemeal. Like he does plan long-term arcs, but he also throws in little things. And like, I'm wondering, Myra McTaggart, did he like the character and then expand on her, which is fine, but it just adds to. And then he has Cyclops reacting appropriately with suspicion. What's going on? Why the secrecy? Are you doing something sinister? Because that would be the only reason for secrecy. And what are they doing? She's sashaying through the building, and they're finding Jamie Madrox, the multiple man, last seen in Giant Size Fantastic Four Annual number 4. So what's going on? So he's laying down, beaten, and we see. Let me explain. I was making my morning rounds when I got ambushed by Havok, Polaris, and Eric the Red. Somehow they've gotten past all the automatic security systems. So if you remember the last time we saw Eric the Red, he had taken Polaris and Havok on his side, and they attacked the X-Men seemingly for no reason and then left. It was like, fight. And they went straight for the cell. We had Magneto ever since he's been turned into a baby. So back in Defender 16, Magneto was turned into a baby. And now Eric the Red. Eric sounded pressed for time, almost scared. He gestured, some sort of ray zapped out from his hand towards the baby, and in seconds, Magneto was a grown man. So this is how they always, seems like my camera's a little out of focus, but this is how they always explain, how does Magneto exist, still alive, young, healthy, since the Holocaust? Well, because Eric the Red, he got turned into a baby, and now Eric the Red turned him into a young man, but he still has the white hair. Why? Because he's a mutant. Same with Storm. And now they talked all day and all night. They formed an alliance. Now Magneto's gesticulating. He's just a raving lunatic. And I know later on they could say, like, this rapid aging thing, it messed up his mind, turned him into a crazy person. He later on, you could go the Stippling Vaughn way of just accept it, or you could go the crazy, needling, neurotic path like me and explain everything. Either approach works. The Stippling Vaughn approach is probably more fun. So, my God, Magneto's grown man and probably at the peak of his powers. We got to do something. So Myra is taking care of Jamie, and Cyclops is off because he is a man with overwhelming responsibilities. He doesn't have time to harbor this resentment that he may feel betrayed by yet another telepath in his life. Boom. There you go. I always liked Cyclops, and I would love to have a 4-issue, 6-issue series redeeming Cyclops. I always dug how Mastermind was calculating and convincing. Yeah, Master Jason Wingard, there's a conniving son of a bitch who's more evil than we think. That bag of magic guy looks like Charles Manson. This guy? Yeah. He is a creep. Ladies and gentlemen, if you see that guy lurking around your daughter's window, call the police. Call the police. Call the police. All right, let's go to the next page. So we got Magneto, just raving lunatic fighting the X-Men over here. He's surrounded by glowing energy. The background is green. Background's green. All right, you don't like it? Background's green. We don't care. We already know it's already set up that they're fighting in a mutant research facility. We've seen layers a million times before, so our brain is filling in the details. This is so Dave Cockrum could do a monthly comic, and it absolutely works. We got some debris over here and green and energy lines. There you go. Over here we got a different shade of green, and where was I talking about this? But who did I talk about this? But I was talking about this on Twitter. Brian Bao mentioned this, that well, Brian Bao was bringing up how, like, modern day, they just put boxes and panel, and it's hard to tell the art. And then I pointed out how the color scheme was the same in every panel. So it you really, unless you want the reader to work to figure out what you're doing, that's a mistake. But look at this. So we have a green background. We also have a green background, but it's a different shade of green. I mean, we also have a nice, well-defined gutter. And then over here, it's an orange background. And then over here, it's a different shade of orange, and then pink, and then purple. Every panel has its own color schemes. Why? Because we got the devil over here in yellow. We got the devil over here in yellow. Now we got Colossus over here, so it's blue and red. You know what I mean? We got basically three primary colors as the main characters. So we got to, and we have to. Those are established. We can't all of a sudden color Wolverine purple. We can't all of a sudden make Colossus orange. You know what I mean? These are established colors, so they need to be that way. So the only latitude we have is the background. Good coffee. Good coffee. So that's how they distinguish each panel, make it look separate, and it works. It works. We know where they're fighting. It's already been well established. Our brain fills in the details. So look at this. Now the armored Russian comes to avenge his friend. So look, Magneto with the gesture dismisses Wolverine. Whoop! Boom. Now with another gesture, he dismisses Colossus. And now Storm is coming. This is magnificent. I've never felt so strong, so sure of my powers. As if all my defeats never happened, I stand reborn, deadlier than ever. So Magneto, they were establishing that not only did he get de-aged, he got a power up. So Eric the Red, who is Eric the Red? It's a mystery. He is able to, with a gesture, age and de-age Magneto, if that makes sense. Like, he was an old man, turned into a baby. Now he's a young man at the height of his powers. And he's just reveling in his newfound. He got Gandalfed. He's Magneto the White now. And Storm is coming after him, and she realizes she's making a mistake. So she's unleashed the power of the hurricane. Impressive Storm, but a wasted effort. My powers are supreme. He set up an interference. He's hurling my lightning bolts back at me. Now, Storm made a rookie mistake. And this don't bother me because it never really established that Storm's clever. She's smart. She's regal. She's a great character. But they never really established that she's a physicist genius. You know what I mean? She's street smart. She's clever. She's intelligent. So she sees Magneto. She does the most direct thing. She summons winds and throws lightning at him. Now, Magneto is a genius, and he understands that lightning and magnetics are basically the same thing. So he redirects the lightning at her. Boom. Now, if Storm does this again, then we could say she's dumb. Now, Storm, what she should have done is froze him out. What are magnetics going to do to cold? Cold is the absence of energy. And Magneto, if you strip away all of his powers to the base level, he manipulates energy. Magnetics is a form of energy. Cold is the absence of energy. Give him less stuff to work with. To me, cold is one of the most dangerous powers because there's really nothing you could do to it. You know what I mean? You can't. What defenses are you going to do? It's the absence of stuff. You know what I mean? Fire, you can adapt. Fire is extra energy. It's extra kinetic energy. It's plasma. It's heat. But cold. So Colossus is dealing with what he can do. Now, if Colossus he's grabbing metal and he's throwing metal at Magneto. He's panicking. He's not thinking smart. He's a farmer. You know what I mean? He never met Magneto before. Cut a break. And I like this because it's showing the immediate threat, and it's showing that Colossus is still a young guy, maybe a little cocksure of his power, but that's Colossus. Like, What does he need to do? I always said this. Colossus, just take out a tennis ball. Boom! You hit Magneto right in the chest with a tennis ball. You know, Colossus, you can lift 100 tons. You put all that force in a tennis. What is Magneto going to do about a tennis ball? There's nothing ferrous about it. You know, and they say a straw propelled by a tornado could go through a wooden door. Just imagine a tennis ball thrown with the full might of Colossus, or a pool ball. That would just kill Magneto. But what do I know? I'm just an electrician who knows a little bit about magnetics. So let's check out the comments. We got Ben Sabar's back. How you doing? Howdy you doing, Ben? How's everything? What? He was de-aged to re-aged? Geez, yeah, it's almost like a comic book or something, you know. Like, I'm here explaining the physics, and Stippling Vaughn's going, just deal with it. It's a comic book. And, you know, who's right? I think Stipling's right. When it comes to doubt, stick with Stippling over me. What's up? Well, he was once turned into a baby in Len Wein's short Defenders run. Yes, he was. He was turned into a baby, and I gotta say, I gotta reread the Defenders. Defenders, you want to go on a crazy acid trip? Read the 70s Defenders. It is the most bizarre, insane, fun, trippy comic book. You know, Mark, everybody saying hello. Farmers are smart, businessmen are not. Just great. Yeah, I didn't say Colossus was dumb. I'm just saying, in his experience, he's never, you know, dealt with physics. All he knows is I'm picking up this big heavy thing and I'm saving my friend. Did it work? Yeah, because he distracted Magneto from finishing off Storm. I never said farmers were dumb. I would starve to death in a wheat field. So now we got Hollow Man over here. We got Spider-Man, and we got the letters page. And right away, Joe Duffy. She later on became a pro at Marvel. You know, I think she started out as an editor, maybe a writer, and then and then like a full-on editor. Joe Duffy. What do we got? We got Kevin Fitzgerald and Kent Roberts. Kent Roberts. That's a superhero name if ever I heard one. But I love checking out the names. Joe Duffy. All right, we got. Oh, did I skip a page? No, I did not. Captain America. Howard the Duck. Howard the Duck was a character I would not touch as a kid. Oh, it's all. I'm going to stop the camera, and then I'm going to bring it back because it looked like I messed with the focusing ability of it. There you go. Heroic Tales still available on Fund My Comic. I got so many stories, you know. Right now, issue 3. I got enough money to do issue 3. Every issue is like, you know, I'm going to be like a telethon. Please give until it hurts. I got to play that music. What's her name? You know, that sad music whenever you see the dogs with cataracts and stuff like that. I will remember you. You know, PBS music. So Colossus is now, boom, he's being thrown back like a rocket. And we got Nightcrawler. Boom. Teleport. Wreckage heading straight to, must teleport to safety and try to get to Magneto the other way. Nice try, Nightcrawler, but it won't work against someone who could sense disruptions along magnetic lines of force. So I don't know if Magneto has displayed this ability, but I really like this. So Magneto has magnetic lines of force. So Nightcrawler teleports, boom, it disturbs these magnetic, and they really do look like that. They look like perfect, you know, waves. So he teleports over here, it disrupts the waves. Magneto detects that. So clever, so cool. Because I was about to say, out of all of the X-Men, well, Cyclops is probably the most, in my mind, Cyclops and Banshee are the most deadly to him, because what is magnetics going to do against sound, and what are magnetics going to do against kinetic energy blasts? You know, it don't work that way. But Nightcrawler could just teleport in and start punching him, you know. But Chris Claremont beat me to the punch. I haven't seen this comic in years, so I kind of forget. I'm opening up. I don't prepare for this. I just open it up and go, you know, let the storytelling in my memory help me out, because I like being surprised by the, but he beat me. So Nightcrawler gets detected, and boom, 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 boom. So Nightcrawler didn't expect that. He thought he had the drop on Magneto. He's going to teleport over there. Magneto's going to be distracted, do some clobbering, but nope, Magneto reacted and took him out. You're not done yet, Magneto. Not so long as an X-Men lives. You cannot harm me, Banshee, but I can smash you whenever I please. So he starts screaming, and Sonic screams, shattering the floor under me. I'm falling. But I can lift myself, you know, I can create an anti-gravity field. I call BS on an anti-gravity field. What he should say is, I'm wearing chainmail, and I'm lifting myself with my chainmail. Because magnetics does not create anti-gravity. That to my knowledge. Maybe I'm stupid. And now he attacks Banshee. Now, Banshee, sonic powers shouldn't be, because, the magnet stop sound? No. So right over here, we got two people. No. He could throw metal at Banshee, and Banshee could do sound. So right now, we have a pretty dangerous battle. Both guys, there's nothing they could do about either power. They could block, Banshee could blow up walls, stuff like that. But a direct blast, like if Magneto, at this point, Magneto can't just blast people. He needs to pick up metal and throw it. So he throws metal at Banshee. Banshee sonic blasts it. Banshee sonic blasts Magneto. He's going to get hit unless he takes metal and blocks. So we got this. I think this is a great matchup of powers. You could do a lot. And it's just like the more clever guy, the guy who has more wits will win this fight. And as far as I'm concerned, Magneto and Banshee are probably as same level of experience, same level as wits, So this is the culmination right over here. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Who drew that thing head? So bronze, classic bronze. This is this Sal Buscema? Marcus, do you know? Is this, because this looks like a Sal Buscema face. This looks like a Sal Buscema face. So there we go. Let's go to the next page. People are messaging me. We got more ads. Free 1 million cash. I'm always tempted with doing like a silly story of a kid who's reading comics, and he's like 19 years old now. Who is? Sorry. Okay. All right. Not important. But it's like 14 messages, and I always think that I'm going to see it, and it's going to be something important. Forgive me. But I always like some like loser kind of character, and he's just like, oh man, and he's just like, all right, so I'm just like, maybe as a social experiment, he's gonna follow all the ads, and he does. He gets $1 million in cash. He subscribes to Grit, and Grit has the secrets of the universe in it. Like, and he learns all of these things, and he gets X-ray glasses. They really are, and he buys all of these muscle things, and he gets super. You know what I mean? So he's just, the greatest superhero because he has all of these gadgets, tricks that actually work, but nobody ever did it. Make money fast. He starts doing this, becomes rich. That BB Thor sucks. Yep. It's Sal or Romita, inked by Synop. There you go. How's so? Oh, Sal. Yeah, Sal Buscema. So what do we got here? This is awesome. This is so cool. So Magneto does something, and what he does is there's always iron particles everywhere, in the dirt, in the dust, and now they've been fighting. Walls have been collapsing, everything like that. If you take a magnet, and I've done this, with my classes when I was a teacher. If you take strong magnets and you go outside into the dirt and you roll them around in the dirt, you'll pick up tiny little iron particles, and then you shake it on paper. So what Magneto is doing is he's pulling all those little particulate iron filings that are everywhere, in the dust, in the ground, and he pulls them all together, and encases Banshee in a case. It just comes from all directions. I love that. It's so freaking clever. And now Banshee's at the risk of suffocating. He can't draw a breath. He's being constricted. Excellent counter to Banshee's power. So freaking cool. You ever beaten Cyclops? Ah, you caught me by surprise. I was overconfident, but I managed to deflect you. But now this I'm calling BS on, but it works for the sake of comics. This is just a kinetic blast. How is that magnetic? How is that ferrous? I don't know. So magnetic shields shouldn't be stopping it, but it does. And I like how he's drawing the shields. It does look like how magnetic lines of force look. So to me, it's just so cool. And Colossus, I love this. He's getting more and more powerful. The lines of force are compressing. He's blasting, blasting, blasting. And what does he do? It's Arc Thread involved. I've got a hunch there's more at stakes than just X-Men versus Magneto. So now we got Magneto just either unconscious or dealing with these blows. Maybe he's stunned. Cyclops is a good guy. I can't fault him for not pressing the attack and ending the battle. Why? Because Banshee is suffocating. Nightcrawler is at the very least, Nightcrawler needs a tetanus shot. He's being trapped by all this iron. So Nightcrawler, find the other X-Men, head for the landing. Go. We don't have time for that. And what does he do? He's freeing. Careful, even using my narrowest beam, I can't afford one false move. So he's just. Why? Because it's a thin crust, but it's an iron crust. Magneto wasn't trying to crush Banshee. He was being cruel. He was suffocating him. If he wanted to crush him, he could have. But Magneto is the devil. He's just a maniac. So Banshee uses sound. He makes it. He can't draw a good breath. He can't use his powers, and he can't breathe. So now he's doing gentle tapping, kind of like a jeweler's hammer, and breaking this iron crust. So now he can look at that. Like you just see his, and here comes Storm. Where's Colossus? This fight, it is as far as because I'm the X-Men team leader, Buster. Now do as I say or get out of here. We're pulling out. We're heading towards New York, and Wolverine fights, gives him guff, a big handful of guff. Do you guys want some guff? Because Wolverine will give you guff. He's got a bag of guff, and now they're running. Okay, Summers, this round goes to you, but from now on, bub, all bets are off. So Wolverine, he listens to the boss, but he pretends that he's, he with his dignity and tech. Oh, great. Looks like that bug-eyed broad's busted loose. Oh, yeah. One the insect woman from Count the Fire. I got confused by that. Oh, so let's look at the that BB Thor sucks. Thanks, Marcus. That thing head looks like Rich Buckler. Oh, okay. So it was different artists. So they cut and pasted it. I like that. Marcus knows all the art styles. I'm usually pretty good, but I can't claim. Oh, geez. A xylograph of Xenial Xenagogs and Xenodochal Zarifs. Stands soapbox. Again, this is stands words, the inner workings of Marvel, and then we got the Human Fly. Human Fly. The Human Fly was like a folded into the Marvel Universe, interacted with Spider-Man and Ghost Rider and stuff like that, and then he was gone. I think, right? He was a real person, almost like a pro wrestler, and the kayfabe was he was this stuntman, and for some reason Marvel made a comic out of him. It wasn't that great. He interacted, and then he was gone, and they never referenced him again. That kind of stuff bothers me. Like, as much as I like the Micronauts never should have been part of the X-Men. Rom, as great as Rom was, like they lost the rights to Rom. So like all of those great stories, we're never going to reference him again. So like whenever an outside IP is brought into Marvel, like Godzilla, Fantastic Four, the Avengers, the X-Men, they all fought Godzilla, and now they don't reference him, they don't talk about him, they never bring him up anymore. Like, it's one thing to do like a X-Men versus Transformers outside of continuity, or X-Men Star Wars, or X-Men Star Trek, miniseries outside of continuity. That I don't get those. I don't care about those because they're not part of the regular storyline. But it's cool, and I could see the appeal of them, and they probably sell like gangbusters. But like, like to make like just imagine Batman and the Hulk that giant-sized treasury. Just imagine that was part of Marvel, and it came out in a regular Marvel comic, and then we're just supposed to forget Batman ever existed. You know, I I don't know. I like my continuity. I'm a freak. I'm an absolute freak. Like if 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 you remember, Invincible showed up in Spider-Man, and I think Spider-Man showed up in Invincible, but they did it in such a way that they like it was understood that Dr. Angstrom manipulated probabilities and these characters showed up. And then it wasn't a consequential, and they treated each other like they didn't, and they left, so it didn't really matter. So the point when they brought Spider-Man into the Invincible cartoon, they were able to change him into somebody else, and it didn't change the story, which is kind of what I'm doing. Plug for my 12-page story for somebody else's comic that I'm not talking about yet until it's all finalized. Renzo is finishing the artwork now. My characters are beating this other character, gets sent through time and space and interacts with my world in such a way that it's you know it's not like that character and my character just exist on the same world, like the way Image, like Spawn exists in Savage Dragon, but then doesn't, because you know what I mean. No, for this particular instance, through whatever, through I don't want to spoil it, but through cosmic happenstance, they traveled beyond, met up with my characters, and then, I hate to say it's a Shaggy Dog story because like they solve, but it's a good story. It's fun. You'll see. You'll see. What does that mean? All bets are off. It means I'm trying to sound like a tough guy. That's what it means. The upcoming Savage Land X-Men fight is almost a redo of this story. Really? Have a good day. I mean, aren't they all? Aren't they all just redo the champ? So let's see now. Spider-Man fights a boxer. He defeats a boxer. Look at that panel. Jeez. I'm surprised that's not a meme. I'm surprised that's not a meme. Lose you? Did I lose you? I just roboted out. Okay. Wolverine gave an awfully easy back there. I almost wish he had tried to slug things out. So Cyclops is getting a little ticked off. Well, he's antsy. He feels betrayed by Xavier, and he's looking to blow off steam. And he's disappointed that Wolverine fell in line so quick. He's ready to take him out. And I don't care what anybody says. Cyclops is going to beat Wolverine. Just blast him from a distance and keep him far away. Wolverine is a close hand-to-hand fighter. Cyclops has got the reach. See, it's Colossus coming back from the fight. They're flying away. They're gone. I beat them. The X-Men ran away, leaving Magneto triumphant. Leaving them, never noticing behind the fine and private horror that stirs. Mutant X. But that's another story. So, again, this is 3 comics in a row with the flimsiest of plot. Black Tom Cassidy wants to keep, fights the X-Men. Juggernaut's there. Who cares? It's a cool fight. Magneto attacks the X-Men at Myra McTaggart's facility. Why? I'm filling in the dots. He's doing it because there's mutants trapped there, and Mutant X, which turns into one of the greatest X-Men stories of all time in, 2023, 22, around there. And now we got the Starjammers. Christopher Summers, Chad, Scheherazade, whatever their names is, and Empress Leandra. So now we're getting part of the X-Men in space storylines. Next issue, Phoenix Unleashed. And the X-Men are coming back. This is Jean Grey meeting her parents. There's Misty Knight, Charles Xavier. Look at this. Christopher Summers, all of these characters. Empress Leandra in this cool outfit over here, the spacesuit. And Eric the Red about to attack Jean Grey's house. So freaking cool. We got Civil War soldiers. And then we got that. Overall, flimsy plot. X-Men act like jerks. We get the beginning of the X-Men bullying people, showing why humans fear them. Magneto returns, acts like a crazy person. And then cool fights, cool setups, great art, flimsy plot. Now, we're coming to a great stretch of great plots, great stories. But this is Chris Claremont. This is why it works out to let your writer develop. Chris Claremont is getting his feet. He's establishing all the side characters. He's establishing the world that the X-Men live in, their personalities, their inner conflicts, and then setting up. Like, look at all of the setup in the. Yeah, Marcus says, I love the design of these big spaceships. Good call. The Shi'ar look like insects. So freaking cool. They don't have the Starjammer here. On the deck of the Star. Oh, is that the Starjammer? Oh wow! I just realized it's a different ship. Is that the original Starjammer, and then they changed it, or is this the Starjammer seeing Leandra's ship? But yeah, I love that. I love how they have that the Shi'ar ships are insect looking. It's so freaking cool. But again, this is one of the things Marvel needs to do. Let their writers develop stories and plots. How much stuff do we got in here? We got the Mutant X. We got the Dark Phoenix story. We got all of the Leandra and Starjammers, which leads to all of these space adventures and everything. It's so cool. It's all being set up right now. X-Men, the ball is being rolled up the hill, and then boom, it's going to just be unleashed and take the world by storm any minute now. So there you go. Again, I'm done with the comic. Anybody? It looks like people are leaving already. I was up to 30. Now I'm down to 18. So I'll keep talking as long as there's comments. Anybody want to say anything? If not, forever hold their peace. What's going on? Okay, my computer just started acting weird. So this looks like comments have stopped. So I guess this is a good place to stop. So again, I'm on a different shift. What does that mean for my YouTube channel? It means I'm probably going to do videos at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll do short videos every day. Sometimes about a comic, sometimes about a I don't know yet, but we'll see. But I'm gonna end now. I'll see you. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.